This is the story of Thomas and the birthday party. One grey morning, Thomas, Percy and Toby were talking in the engine shed. "It's your driver's birthday on Saturday," said Percy. Thomas wasn't sure what a birthday was, but noticed the cheeky glint in Percy's eyes and wondered if he was planning some kind of joke. "What is a birthday?" asked Thomas. "You must have heard of birthdays before," teased Percy, and Thomas felt rather small. "It is the day when you get a year older," offered Toby helpfully, "and you sometimes have a party with a cake." Thomas liked the idea of a party and wondered if his driver would be having one. At that moment the engines heard the crunch of footsteps on the gravel outside the shed. The fireman poked his head around the door. "Good morning, engines," he said. "You look wide awake already." "I've just been told that it's my driver's birthday on Saturday," explained Thomas. "Do you know if he's planning to have a party?" "I know that his wife is baking him a cake," said the fireman, "but I haven't heard of any plans for a party." Thomas's eyes lit up. "I wish I could see the cake," he said wistfully. "I've never seen a birthday cake before." "Well, why don't we give the driver a party at the station?" suggested Toby. "Yes," agreed Percy. "Then we could all see the cake." The fireman thought that this was a very good idea and went to ask the station master. The station master was delighted and said it was a very long time since they'd had a party at the station. The engines were very pleased and huffed and whooshed with excitement before hurrying out of the shed to begin work for the day. However, Thomas's face soon fell. When he arrived at the station, the fat controller was waiting for him. "Thomas," he said, "I need you to spend some time at the big station. There are lots of trucks that need shunting in the yard, and I know you will do the job perfectly." Thomas tried not to look too upset, because he knew deep down that the fat controller had given him an important job to do. But how was he going to be able to prepare for the party, which was only 2 days away? Thomas left the station feeling gloomy. "Never mind, I've got to do it. Never mind, I've got to do it," he told himself, and made his way to the big station. Thomas didn't like the big station. The tracks were crowded with trucks, all filled to the brim with dirty, heavy loads. Planks of wood were being sent to the mainland for a new monkey house at the zoo, and some stone from the quarry was being taken to Rolf's castle at the other side of Sodor Island to stop one of the walls from falling down. Thomas knew that all of these things were important, but his mind was on the party for his driver. Oh, well, he thought to himself, at least he would be able to start the preparations when he returned home that evening. Not today, however. The fat controller came to Thomas at the end of the day and explained that he would be needed again the next day. Thomas would have to spend the night at the big station. Poor Thomas. He didn't sleep a wink that night. The big engine shed wasn't nearly as cosy as his own shed, where he and Percy would usually talk for hours. In this shed, Gordon and Henry were very boring and went to sleep straight away. So Thomas was all alone in the darkness, trying not to listen to the many strange noises in the shed. But in trying not to listen, he found that he listened all the more, and even began to imagine some noises. The lights hanging from the ceiling were rusty and squeaked in the evening breeze, and Gordon was snoring so loudly that his boiler made a bubbly grunting sound. Thomas tried to whoosh some steam at him. But Gordon only muttered grumpily before snoring all over again. Thomas spent the rest of the night feeling miserable about the driver missing his party, and was pleased when the sky grew light outside and the day could begin. Thomas made his way to the yard rather reluctantly the next morning. He nodded crossly at the trucks who were waiting to be shunted, wishing that they had their own engines to take them where they needed to go, so that he didn't have to do it. "Good morning, Thomas," said the fat controller cheerfully. "Morning," replied Thomas gloomily. "What's up, Thomas? You look rather fed up today," said the fat controller. "No need to be so glum. You've been working hard, and I'm very pleased with you." "Thank you, sir." Thomas looked a little happier. "But when can I go home?" "Don't worry, Thomas. I know all about your secret," reassured the fat controller. "We will get you home in time. In the meantime, come and shunt some of these trucks." Although Thomas was very tired from having had no sleep, he felt much brighter and set off towards the trucks. At long last, Saturday arrived, and everybody began preparing for the party. Percy and Toby provided helpful suggestions on how to decorate the engine shed, while the porters and their children blew up balloons. "Look at this," said the station master. "My wife found it in a cupboard at home." He pulled a tube of paper out of his briefcase and unrolled it. "Wow!" cried the children. It was a huge banner with "Happy Birthday" written across it in bright colours. "Let's put it on the front of the shed," said the porter. But Percy and Toby thought it would be much more fun to hang it from the ceiling inside the shed, so that they could surprise Thomas and his driver when they arrived and opened the doors. The station master agreed that this was a good idea, so he climbed the ladder to put it up. Meanwhile, Thomas was racing home from the big station as fast as he could. "Mustn't be late, mustn't be late," he puffed to himself. But as he approached the engine shed, everything seemed strangely quiet. "Where is everybody?" Thomas thought to himself anxiously. All he could see was the station cat, waiting to pounce on some birds, and the station master, who looked as though he was having a tea break. The shed doors were shut tight, and there was no sound, except the distant bark of a dog in the village. Thomas thought this was very odd. Had he come on the wrong day? He was sure they had told him his driver's birthday was on Saturday. Thomas ground to a halt outside the shed door. "That was a good run, Thomas," he heard his driver say as he climbed down from the cab. Before Thomas could reply, the shed door opened and the driver's wife appeared. "Gosh, dear, what are you doing here?" asked the driver in surprise. He noticed that she was wearing her smartest dress. She only ever wore that dress for special occasions. Then he noticed that she was carrying a large box in her arms, about the size of a very big shoebox. What was inside? His wife didn't say a word, but smiled secretly and waited for the driver to get down from the cab. Thomas noticed that some little children were hiding behind the shed door and realized that perhaps something was going to happen after all. "Follow me," said the driver's wife as she turned to walk into the shed. So Thomas and his driver followed behind her. It was very dark when they got inside the shed, and Thomas couldn't see where he was going. Then suddenly the lights flashed on and a loud chorus shouted, "Surprise!" The driver couldn't believe his eyes. He gazed in wonder at the big banner and all the balloons. Then he saw the box on the table. Everybody was waiting for it to be opened. "Shall I take the lid off the box?" he asked. "Yes!" shouted the children. So he lifted the lid, and Thomas gave a huge whistle of excitement. It was a cake. But it was no ordinary cake. "It's me! It's me! The cake looks just like me!" he cried happily. Sure enough, a Thomas cake with lots of blue icing stood on the table. It even had a candle poking out of the funnel. "It looks far too good to cut," said the driver. But he did. And as he did so, everybody sang "Happy Birthday." When the cake was cut, everybody climbed into the carriage behind Thomas to begin the party. A special cloth was spread on the table and a huge feast laid out. "Ham and tomato sandwiches, my favourite," said the driver, munching happily. All around him the children chased balloons and popped streamers. Party whistles hooted and sweet wrappers rustled. Young Pip, the porter's son, was so excited that he dropped strawberry jelly behind one of the seats. But the driver said that as it was his birthday, he wasn't cross. They could clean it up tomorrow. After eating all of the cake and playing lots of party games, everybody was exhausted. Poor Clarabelle hadn't had so many people on board for a very long time, and her wheels were quite sore. "That was the nicest birthday I've ever had," said the driver. "I've eaten so much cake that I won't be able to do up the buttons on my jacket tomorrow." Thomas was happy too. At long last he had been to a birthday party.